Hey guys, it is Nicole here for round 3 of 4. So we're gonna do another series book. It is the first, so it's a part of the new series I'm starting. And it is, you've probably seen this in bookstores. I'm late as always to everything, but Miss Peregrine, I believe it's Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. Just cool names in general with this book. So you've probably seen this book in libraries by now. You've seen it in bookstores, I have no doubt. It was like all over the place in my Barnes & Noble when I went there. I stayed away from this book for a while because the covers creeped me out. I'm not good with scary things. I mean, for the most part, I can start reading scary books. I've read maybe Salem's Lot, Stephen King way back. Overall, though, not great with fear. I'm a scaredy cat. So I kind of looked at the covers and the darkness, and I like vaguely read the back, and I was just like, I think I'm going to be too freaked out to read it. And then it turned out that that was not actually the case. I started reading it and realized it's not actually a horror story, fun fact. There are a little bit of creepy elements and some vague horror, but it's not at all what I thought it was. In a good way, it turns out. And the point of the story, there's this kid, Jacob, and his grandfather used to tell him these stories about this mystical place he lived with all these other children in like an orphan home during World War II. And, his parents were killed, so he lived with them, and he used to tell these fantastical stories about kids that had magical powers. They could do all these weird things that people shouldn't be able to do. And, when Jacob's a little kid, he's like, oh, this is awesome. And, of course, his parents are like, don't listen to him, blah, blah, blah. And then as he grows up and he starts telling his friends these stories, and he has the photographs. There's actually cool photographs in here, which I love. He shows these photographs, and, it's like anything. When you have an imaginary friend and then you get to a certain age and you tell your friends you have an imaginary friend, your friend's going to look at you pretty weirdly and be like, oh, you're a weirdo. And a lot of times because of social conformity, we drop it and we go, okay, I don't like, imaginary friends anymore. I like going to the mall and texting. Things I don't really do anyways. But, we kind of conform to whatever is cool and acceptable. So over time, Jacob, of course, stops believing his grandfather, and I think that's, it hurts their relationship, but at the same time, grandfather just kind of gives up and puts it away and still tries to be a great grandfather. And then one day, Jacob is struck with a horrible tragedy involving his grandfather, which kind of turns him on to this whole thing where he comes and encounters these creepy things. And eventually this leads him to some letters, and these letters eventually bring him into contact or onto the idea of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. And it becomes this whirlwind thing, and he realizes that he has to do this, and, he's going out, and he and his father are going to this weird island to try and find it, and nobody really still believes him, but he's gonna do it anyways, and he works on it. And he comes into contact in a way with these children, and it begins this whole new adventure. And it's crazy. It's definitely some sci-fi in there too. A lot of science and crazy things happening that I don't want to get too far into because I don't want to ruin things for anybody. But this new adventure that he encounters with the peculiar children is what's going to lead us into these next books. It would be my guess, of course. I've only read this first book. I know there's a sequel at least, possibly even a third book, so I'm guessing that's what this whole adventure is about. So it's very cool, it's creepy. There's some points in time where the book moves a little slowly, like in the beginning, and you're like, I know that this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. I read the back of the book. I know you're supposed to, do whatever. But over time, it kind of starts to play out, and you're like, oh, yeah, and it picks up speed, and then it becomes an adventure, and it's like, whodunit, and what is going on, and blah, crazy. So, I really like it. I definitely want to read the second book, at least. I just haven't had time/money to get the second book. I have this thing with series, maybe you do too, where once I start reading a series, or if I buy the first book of the series and I find I like it, I would like to collect the whole series so that one day when I have my beautiful house with my library or whatever I make, I can have the whole collection just on the shelves. So I need to buy these books now, it's been decided. So in the meantime, that is my review of this first book. I will let you know when I get a hold of the next book, and hopefully I've inspired you to read it, or maybe I've made your decision that you're going to back away from the book slowly. Who knows? On my 1 to 5 scale, that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of life, I would give this a 3.5, 4. There are some creepy elements, there's some cool elements, it's fun, there's a little bit of romance, there's action, adventure. You got the whole thing in here. But, you know, that's what you get with young adult novels, right? So, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. Check it out. Good stuff. Yeah. One last book review coming to you today, so sit tight. I will be right with you. Thank you for watching, as always.